Okay, we're live.
All right, Zyson, call us in.
Councilmember Jimmy Clanton. Councilmember Jimmy Clanton.
Here.
Councilmember Rob Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Jasmine Cabo.
Here.
Councilmember George Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Tammy Grimes.
Here.
Mayor Jason Larry.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. We're having the city council work session today for a short period of time because we're going to keep everything on time and moving. Mr. Joyner, your transportation master plan update.
Yes, really quick here. I just wanted the council to know that we have completed the transportation master plan. And before we bring that before the public, I will be setting up some time with each council member for some time this week and the following week with VHB and our representative from the collaborative firm to preview the transportation master plan with each one of you.
All right. Council, any questions for Mr. Joyner regarding that situation?
Just a quick one. There is a timeline that they will be presenting with that master plan to us in reference to taking care of projects.
Yes, actually the transportation master plan will have a project plan associated with it with short-term, mid-range, and long-term goals, along with designated projects for each.
All right.
And the cost.
All right.
Mr. Joyner, is the final version online now?
No, we have not placed it online. We wanted to give the council an opportunity to preview it first.
Can you get a copy to council so I can preview?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get that to you. And as I stated before, we'll be setting up some time to sit down with you and go through it in detail. And then we'll bring it to the subsequent council meeting.
Yeah, just wanted to read it before we meet.
Okay.
Okay. Any more on that, council? All right. Public Works IGA update.
Okay. Similarly, we're closing in on the completion of the Public Works IGA, and once again, we'll try to. The plan is to preview that with the council prior to bringing it before the public for action.
Okay. Council.
I have just one question. At the last meeting, we talked about a deadline to get this done, and the county was to, allegedly had given us a hard deadline, and someone was going to produce evidence to that effect. Has that letter or any such agreement been produced?
No, not at this time. We will, like I said, when we have our discussion, we'll be able to discuss this in greater detail.
Oh, okay.
One quick question. When are those discussions scheduled to start?
I am shooting to begin them this week and looking to have them completed this week and hopefully to complete it by the end of next week.
All right.
All right. South DeKalb YMCA after school program update.
All righty. We have Brandon Riley from the Director of Parks and Rec here to give us a brief update on the memorandum of understanding with the South DeKalb YMCA.
Thank you, Mr. Joyner. So as you know, we are in the process of renewing our MOA with the South DeKalb YMCA. However, of course, within the last hour, DeKalb County schools are currently voting on sending all schools through virtual learning. However, I have been in discussions with the South DeKalb YMCA on what does that look like for our kids, and they are in the process of putting together a virtual learning program in addition to a traditional program. And we just want to make sure that we're lockstep with the aftercare provider as we're preparing for our schools to open up, whether it's virtual learning or traditional learning. And whenever the city decides to open up, our facilities will be prepared and should be prepared for our kids as they're transitioning back into normal capacity. So I just want to kind of bring that to your attention, and that I will be having meetings with all of the council members and the mayor and pledge to see what does that MOA looks like from the YMCA, in addition to the virtual learning strategy that they are currently putting together, and the traditional learning strategy that they're putting together, and also the DeKalb County new strategic reopening plans. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, council, floor is open. All right. Mr. Riley, what do you think that looks like in the future with us based on, the pandemic and what has been going on, and the numbers are going up and that whole thing?
Honestly, my opinion is that we're probably going to stay in virtual learning for a while. My son is going to be doing virtual learning for the whole semester at his school right now. However, I think it's important that we prepare ourselves with our facilities to make sure that we are in compliance with the COVID-19 response, whether it is the social distancing footprints, the arrows as far as directing, making sure that our facilities are up to speed to make sure that it is as safe as possible. But it's really hard to tell with the school system because of the rise of the uptick in our the COVID-19. However, it is important that with that virtual learning, the kids can still be a part of it. They have opportunities for kids to still have tutoring sessions, have STEM program art sessions that would be very interactive for our kids. And so we want to make sure that our Browns Mill kids are definitely being interacted and having a good dialogue with our aftercare program and having a resource for our community.
Okay. So you're thinking that in an after school type of program, they'll still physically come to the facility, they'll spread out, they'll, that type of thing?
Well, yeah. So what we plan to do is if we want to make sure that our facility is up to par first. I do not recommend bringing our kids in the building until there are some changes to our facility that we are meeting the COVID-19 protocol. However, with the YMCA, the South DeKalb YMCA, we have had previous agreements in the past which will allow our kids to be active in the South DeKalb YMCA while we are remodeling our facility. And so I guess until we get full approval from Mayor and Council, until we get full approval from our community, I think it's important that if we do decide to go back to traditional aftercare programs, it will be based off of the governor's guideline, the CDC guideline, and the Department of Health guideline that we are in compliance. And that could consist of the 1-to-9 ratio with our kids that the YMCA is still providing until there is further changes. And so we want to make sure that we stay lockstep with whatever the YMCA and the governor's guidelines and the CDC guidelines are providing.
Oh, they plan on giving you any more input as of later? We're just kind of waiting to see what they say.
Yeah, so they will give me more input. I sent over the MOA this past weekend, and so they will be. They currently have the MOA in their possession right now, providing us with their feedback on what they're looking to do, virtual and traditional. And so when they provide that to us, I will be presenting that to everyone in their upcoming meetings next week before the council meeting.
All right. Okay. Council, anything?
Mayor, I'm not sure if this is the most appropriate time to say this, but I did have a constituent reach out, or a couple of constituents to reach out to ask if we as the city of Stonecrest had given any consideration to the public mask mandate. And I gave my word that I would get that to you. So there you have it.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I've been approached with that several times, online, in person, at the food store, just about everywhere I go. The quandary with us is this: we have no enforceability. We can mandate it. We can do what other cities have done, which is strongly encourage it. But we have no enforcement capability. And I'm going to be interested to see how other cities that do have enforcement capabilities handle that. So my thought on that situation, Councilwoman, is to strongly encourage us to as citizens to be able to do that, because hopefully if our not if, but when our funding comes through, we'll be able to have a mask, for everybody. And it is, we'll be able to do something about it from, that standpoint. But thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. It is 7:01. Ms. Isom, we're going to move from the council work session to the city council meeting. So we'll need a new call in, please.
Okay. Councilmember Jimmy Clanton,
Here.
Councilmember Rob Turner,
Here.
Councilmember Jasmine Cabo,
Here.
Councilmember George Turner,
Here.
Councilmember Tammy Grimes,
Here.
Mayor Jason Larry.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilman Rob Turner, if you do us an honor, please.
Thank you, sir. Let us pray. Honoring the spirit of the great God, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, we come before you with humble hearts and thirsty spirits for you to empower us with the wisdom from on high, and that we will glorify you today in our words and actions. We pray over Stonecrest that it will be the city you destined it to be when you created it, and that we as your called servants be a blessing to the city and to the kingdom of God as we walk in your will and your way. Speak to us and through us tonight. Thank you for giving us another opportunity to honor and serve you as we honor and serve your people. We invite you to be a part of all we do tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
Justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the council agenda. Under old business, I'm removing the ordinance for rezoning application RZ 20-001. Won't hear that tonight.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mayor, I think we still need to hear it though, sir.
Oh.
But if we can just put it, let people know that they can still give public comments for the application, and then they can submit comments to Ms. Sonia via real time, and then also to myself as well, if they want to give public comments or they want to come to City Hall. So.
All right. So what's your pleasure, Mr. Wheeler? If we
still under old business, but you can be under public hearing though.
Can be on the public hearing.
Yes, sir. So again, let residents know that they can, submit comments to us via real time through Mr. Ism, or they can send it to myself. I'll state that my email address again is cwheeler, WHEELER @stonecrestga.gov. So they can submit the comments, and then once the public hearing is closed, and you guys can go back to discussing the application.
Okay. Good deal. All right, we'll do it that way.
Mr.
I
Mayor?
have a question for clarity
Yes.
on that. So are we not hearing the application, as I believe that we deferred it to this meeting? So are we not hearing the application at all?
No,
We're not making a decision, or how?
No.
I don't understand how we're doing with that.
No, you are making a decision. Is that, like I said, it's under old business, but it's a public hearing, so it has to be stayed under public hearing so residents can give comment. So no, you guys are still going to be heard, because you table it to this hearing. I mean, to this meeting, where you can make a determination.
Okay.
So, but Mr. Wheeler, that pushes us for a vote this evening, correct?
Yes, sir. So
I don't want to do that. So
Okay.
how do you handle that?
I'm let the attorneys to answer that question. I'm not too sure about that.
All right. So that's why I said I was removing it from,
Okay.
Which is, that's what made me ask the question, because I
Okay.
didn't think that we could just decide we're not gonna take action on something that we deferred to this meeting.
I'll let one of the attorneys speak on that. I'm not too sure.
Mr. Mayor, you can certainly defer it again.
Okay.
Let me say.
Right, but that's taking an action, right? It's not.
Yes, it is.
Not taking a vote.
Yeah, technically, we did not defer it, we tabled it. And you'd have to vote to untable it, retable it, or extend the table. If it was tabled to a specific date, then you have to deal with it today, which could be to just retable it, but it was not deferred, it was tabled.
Got it. That is correct. So what we'll do, Mr. Wheeler, with your permission, Mr. Denmark, is when we'll leave it on the old business, and then we'll make a motion to retable it.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Attorney, can you define the difference between table and defer? What actions, so let me think how to say this. What actions in the future are different from each other from tabling and deferring?
Practically or fundamentally none. I mean, if you table it, that means you've taken no action on it and it's on the table until the council takes it off the table. But if you defer it, you're deferring it to a date and time certain.
So tabling just means you don't have to put a date to it, but deferring means you put a date to it.
Yes, ma'am.
Just last time we tabled it with a date.
Well, I mean, then you technically
Then we deferred
to
it.
the next meeting.
Right. Okay.
All right. So, Mr. Denmark, Attorney Denmark, do we do that now, or do we do that once we get to the item?
It's probably more appropriate to get to that item and then take whatever action you want to take.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. That's okay with you, Mr. Wheeler?
Yes, sir. Wherever the council decides, sir, I'm good with.
Thank you. All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
there is a need for an executive session, I
All
believe.
right.
Am I correct, Attorney Denmark?
I would certainly like to talk to the council about a litigation matter in executive session or potential litigation matter.
We'll have that. And I have one appointment where the NA is. I have an appointment that I'm going to talk about this evening. Okay, having seen the agenda and talked, I'll take an approval for the council agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the council agenda with stated changes.
All right. Properly moved. I have a second.
Second.
All right. District 1.
Jim had mentioned he was having some audio problems.
Oh yeah, I see him going in and out right now, as a matter of fact. Okay, District 2.
Yay.
District 3.
Yay.
District 4.
Yay.
District 5. Let's see. Did she go? Did she leave?
I'm having internet trouble. I don't know about anybody else, but I missed whatever just happened.
We just asked for the vote for the approval of the council agenda.
Aye.
Did you hear? Yay.
Okay, and then yours, Ms. Grimes?
Yay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And Mayor, yay. All right. We'll move to the minutes, the approval of June 22nd, 2020 City Council meeting minutes. Council, do you have any update or changes?
I sent a very small change into Ms. Reed, and she said she would take care of that, but since she's not in place, it was very minor, just a grammatical change. And for adjournment, Mayor Rob Turner did not move for adjournment. It says Mayor Rob Turner.
Did I just get promoted? I just went to the restroom. I came back. I'm there. What happened?
He goes to the bathroom. He comes back later.
It's just very minor.
I love it, man. I love it. Okay. I mean, we're good with that. All right. Anybody else? So I'll take a motion for approval. So I move that to approve the June 22nd, 2020 City Council meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. District 1,
Aye.
District 2,
Aye.
District 3,
Aye.
District 4,
Aye.
District 5,
Aye.
District 6, District 6, Mayor, aye. And we're having a ball this evening. All right. B, the approval of July 6, 2020, 11 a.m. special call public hearing. Any changes, updates from council?
Mr. Mayor, that's what I mentioned earlier. It's very shallow in terms of its definition of what happened. So just wanted to know if we wanted to add more, but the attorney saying what we have is enough. Just mentioned that it was for tax increase.
Mr. Mayor, if I might,
Sure.
we said that it was legally sufficient, but there's certainly no prohibition or problem if the council wanted to put some more meat on the bone. You could make the minutes as elaborate or as involved as you want them to be. But if the question is, does it meet the minimum to be, legally sufficient minute? Well, yes, it does. But if the council can always make it more descriptive if you so choose.
Yeah, I'm thinking years down the road, you're gonna have someone to look at these minutes and say, what happened? Because it's so shallow in its definition, which is why I was suggesting that perhaps we put some more meat on the bone to explain what happened and why were you seeking a tax increase, how much, and maybe the preamble to the resolution itself.
Okay, so my question for the attorney well, not speaking for you, of course, Councilman, I just want to know for myself. I mean, do we add it here? Do we come back next meeting and have meat on it, or what's the?
Well, you could certainly, I guess the clerk will have a difficult time understanding precisely what to add. And so you can defer these minutes to the next meeting to provide an opportunity to provide that extra level of detail that the councilman feels would be helpful going forward.
Yeah, but the minutes as they are correct. So there's no correction. It's just what I thought was omission. And I think if we capture it completely for this evening's meeting, which is the third in the series, you may well have satisfied that.
Okay.
Or Mr. Mayor, you can always amend the minutes. I mean, it's your document, so.
Okay, then I'll take both. As a matter of fact, I'll make sure Ms. Isom for this evening on the third meeting that we have, we put a little bit more meat to it, and then as we move forward with these the other two or the formal two, we'll since Ms. Reed is on vacation, we'll put some edits to it with Ms. Reed. And then you and Ms. Isom, you and Ms. Reed can combine your notes together, and then I think that unless Councilman Turner tells me wrong, it may satisfy what we're looking for down the road.
I believe it will, because it's going to be the written document that we're going to probably turn to in the future in terms of any research. I'm hoping the audio and video will be around, but I think what's going to stand up is going to be the written document.
All right. So from this point, Councilman Turner will approve them today, and then I'll take that plan of action. Okay.
So moved.
All right. So it's been properly second. Any further discussion? All right. District 1.
Aye.
District 2.
Aye.
District 3.
Aye.
District 4.
Aye.
District 5.
Aye.
Mayor. Aye. All right. Same drill with the approval of the July 6, 2020, 6 p.m. special call public hearing. I'll take a motion for approval.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the July 6, 2020, 6 p.m. special call public hearing minutes.
All right. Properly moved.
Second.
And second. District 1.
Aye.
District 2.
Aye.
District 3.
Aye.
District 4.
Aye.
District 5.
Aye.
Mayor? Aye. All right. We have no presentation for this evening, but we will go to appointments. Folks, have given this a lot of thought, a lot of care, and for those of you who believe, a lot of prayer. And what I've found in my dealings as an executive and in dealing with executives and communicating with executives is that somewhere along this train, I am not doing something that's satisfactory to counsel because I have heard it too much. And so I have to take a look in the mirror and take a self-aware inventory of what I'm doing to be able to make sure I can be the best mayor and the best city executive that you all could have. With that, and recognizing my shortcomings on that end, I'm going to turn to a person that I trust, that I know, and has had this situation and position in the past. And that is to be able to communicate more effectively and better from the mayor's office to council. So with that, I have created the office of the Chief Liaison Officer, the CLO, and I am combining that person's responsibility as Chief of Staff and now the Chief Liaison Officer. In this position, this person speaks for me. She listens for me. She communicates directly with council for me, making sure that I haven't missed anything, making sure that I've done my due diligence with council, and also to make sure that my message and what I want is communicated properly to you all, across the board. I have that in with staff and Pledge Joiner. Plus, I'm here every day, and I get this opportunity to see staff, but I mainly communicate through them, with Mr. Joiner. However, I want you all to join me in helping give extra responsibility to Ms. Iris Settle, and she's going to be our Chief Liaison Officer along with our Chief of Staff. And Ms. Settle, if you say a couple of words, I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much. On behalf of the City of Stonecrest, on behalf of City Council, Mayor, thank you so much for taking the opportunity to trust me in this position. As you know, I have deep respect for you and for the city and what we're doing, and I will make sure to the best of my ability that I serve the needs of council in terms of making sure that they have the information that they need from you and from the city so that we all can win. We are a team, we are a family, and I'm so happy to be able to be in that position to help. And please know, I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you, just like I've gotten to know those here on staff, so that we can determine how we can best meet the needs and that we can best look out for each other and that we can continue to win. Mayor, thank you again for trusting me.
You're very welcome. All right, folks. I'll certainly look out for communications from Ms. Settle, and I'm hoping that this will bridge some of the gap between my deficiencies with regards to communicating to you all and having a person that is an expert in this arena and just really has the academic ability and the relationship with you all to make this bridge better.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes,
And
sir.
all due respect to Ms. Settle, I think she's a wonderful person, very, very qualified. However, you mentioned the Chief of Staff as well as the Chief Liaison Officer.
That's correct.
Is she doing both jobs or does one disappear?
No, she's going to do both jobs.
Okay, and you said the Liaison Officer, that makes her an officer of the city?
Well, that's the title, Mr. Turner.
Well, I'm just looking at the charter, which says the mayor appoints officers
Okay.
with council approval.
Well, that's totally the way that is. So, but I think the intent of the charter on that end of it is city manager and some other positions. I don't think that includes what we're talking about here. But if you want to confirm that particular appointment, then I'm fine with council confirming that appointment.
Well, we just don't want to just do it. The question is, what does the charter call for? We want to follow the procedures.
The charter doesn't call for a chief liaison officer. Doesn't call for that. Doesn't call for a chief of staff. But we have it.
True. And that was an item we had on the work session for discussion, defining those positions and the officers of the city that the mayor had the authority to appoint, but with confirmation from the council. And I wouldn't just have a person to show up at one meeting and consider them all in one setting. It would have to be a matter of, you get a notice that this is for consideration, look at the qualification. If you're asking me personally to confirm someone before I would make that confirmation, but I don't want to go through that if that's not a requirement. So those are the things that we need to determine what is required of us as council people, as the mayor, and as the charter comes to appointing officers.
So here's what we'll do, council person. I'm going to keep this as it stands right now. And then in the next work session, we can dive into all of that, because it apparently is on your mind and just more than that particular issue.
Oh, yes.
No worries. So what we'll do is that this will stand as I mentioned it today, and as I appoint it today. And then next work session, we'll do a deep dive, and you'll get a chance to, everybody get a chance to research and talk and have an opportunity to go from there. Is that satisfactory, sir?
Meanwhile, can we have written qualifications sent to us?
Sure, I'll do that, sir.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. All right, we'll move on to public comments. Ms. Isom?
Yes, sir. First comment is from Faye Cofield. I am writing this email to express my concern about the proposed asphalt plant. We have been told previously that this plant had been approved by the DeKalb County before Stonecrest became a city. Now we learn that Mayor Larry signed off on this last year, authorizing its approval. This marks the third time that something major has happened in Stonecrest, and we have been told it was approved, only to find out that the county had either been notified or the county signed off on it. This was true with the cell phone tower, which we were told had been rezoned by DeKalb County in the 1970s without any restrictions. I personally found out that this was not true, and that there were very extreme requirements and zoning restrictions that prevented the use of a cell phone tower at this location. However, with this fact, that cell phone tower was still allowed to be built. I am also deeply troubled about a proposed project at Browns Mill and Panola Road. This project is depicted in pictures that is not representative of the area. This project shows it being built on land that is currently occupied by houses and other structures. I believe that the permit should be denied. I also have a concern about the approval of a business that was built without proper zoning. The zoning that exists on this property strictly forbids the type of use that is being authorized now and recommended by the Planning Committee. I believe that this extension is allowed and this business is allowed to continue despite it being built in the wrong zone, that we will no longer have the opportunity to protect zoning within the boundaries of Stonecrest. I also am, of course, opposed to the asphalt plant. Stonecrest to take time now to stop all zoning and reevaluate what is located on what type of zoning, and to make sure that any vacant land or any zoning is in compliance with what is now built there. Sincerely yours, Faye Cofield. Lynn Fowler. I am sending this email to voice my strong opposition to the Metro Green project slated for the Snapfinger Road, Miller Road area. This type of plant is totally inappropriate for this area. There are residential neighborhoods and schools within close proximity. Where a recycling plant may fall under the category of light industrial, which this plot of land is supposedly zoned for, there are environmental risks to the community, such as air quality, noise, and just general quality of life. I have lived in this area for 30+ years, planning to spend my retirement here, but now having to worry about the threat to my health and those of my family, not to mention my property value. This community does not want Metro Green here. I'm certain there are more suitable areas of the county where this project would fit, but not here. Lynn Fowler, concerned citizen. Piper Green, to the mayor and Stonecrest officials, I am a resident in the Miller Road area where you have allowed a toxic concrete recycling plant to start building. We want to know more about the documents that the mayor and city planner falsified. Why did the mayor and city planner tell the
I'm sorry, Ms. Isom. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Why did the mayor and city planner tell the EPD that Stonecrest had a waste facility and you do not? The EPD official told all of us that they never have approved this plant had the truth been known. The community deserves to see this falsified document. Please provide those documents. My next point of contention is the investigation committee. We would like to see 2 residents on that committee. We don't trust the process with Stonecrest officials. This project needs to be permanently closed. If the documents were falsified, the EPD should revoke any and all permits. The Stonecrest officials should do all they can to stop this toxic site. Will you go on record and state that you will do this? The final point is in reference to that horrible zoning board appointed by the mayor. Are you all receiving bribes? What type of zoning credentials do any of those people possess? I watched that zoning meeting last week and was totally disgusted. The community opposed both toxic plants that were planned for their community. The city planner was finally on the side of the community and recommended denial of the second concrete facility. The zoning board took all of 2 seconds to approve both businesses to further pollute our South DeKalb community. South DeKalb is not your dumping ground. How dare you take this important position and line your own pockets while defiling a predominantly Black community? Have you no shame? What is the point of having a city council if they don't hold the real power? The zoning board and this mayor are ruining our community. This is a disgrace that you don't properly notify the community when we find out what you are doing and still show up to oppose it. You ignore us and do what you want. This is unacceptable. Government should be for the people, not for the politicians. If a project will not enhance the community, why would you improve it? What is the health benefit of a concrete facility? Concrete contains silica, which is known carcinogen. What do you think happens when you crush it? It will emit dust and those carcinogens. That is a fact. Have you all ever heard the noise from crushing concrete? Did you see the 1-lane road on Snapfinger? How will the community deal with that traffic? The roads aren't zoned for that, no matter how many bogus zones you make. In conclusion, we want healthy businesses in our community. We don't want toxic sites that other communities would never allow. The concrete owner is on record saying no one else would allow him to build there except for Stonecrest. A Black mayor and zoning board is selling out a Black community. This is environmental racism enacted upon the community by Black officials. This is a disgusting abuse of power. Stop it. Don't you dare say Black Lives Matter and then dump a concrete recycling plant across the street from a school and hundreds of homes. The excuse that one side of the road was zoned industrial is legal is not a valid argument. At one time, slavery was also legal, but it was wrong. History will record what you have done.
Let me stop you because I'm not going to listen to this idiot book. After 3 minutes, that's it. It's been 5 minutes. Go on to the next one.
Okay, Jennifer Wilson, good evening. My concerns are still based on the fact that this recycling plant is less than 500 feet from my subdivision. Although that piece of property is zoned for light industrial use, the 2 subdivisions that surround this development are over 20 years old, and the concern now should be regarding those residential communities. Why not use this area, Metro Green, to build a mixed-use development instead of a landfill for sorting trash? We can always use an area like the Atlanta Beltline with art and walking district space. Who is the other owner of this land besides Metro Green? Greenland Snapfinger? What was the purchase price from Peace Baptist Church? How would a recycling facility benefit this area when no one took the time to see if the infrastructure could handle trucks loaded with cement? Thank you, Jennifer Wilson. Renee Call. To the entire Stonecrest City Hall staff, please do not bring any factories or the projects listed above Metro Green to residential areas or near residents in Stonecrest. Renee Call, Citizens for a Healthy and Safe Environment. Tanika Kemp, good afternoon. This letter is to encourage a no vote for the concrete recycling and asphalt plant. We need to stop allowing these type of businesses in our neighborhood that clearly pollute our city. It appears that Stonecrest is more focused on the money that these type of businesses are bringing along with polluting our city. Please vote no to both. Thanks, Tanika Kemp. Jackie Alexander, Councilman Jasmine Cabo, you are so rude. You don't know everything. What are you doing for your district? You have the worst crime, trash, and unemployment in the city, District 3. I am embarrassed to be your sorority sister. Councilman Tammy Grimes, you are equally or more disappointing than Diana Adama. You don't understand anything. Are you listening? Do you pay attention? No one should have to spoon feed you every answer. You lied during your campaign because you did not attend half the meetings. Dave Marcus or Barbara Hall should have won. Jackie Alexander. Maryland, I would like to express my concern about this issue. I'm trying to understand how the mayor of Stonecrest and his constituents could possibly think it's okay for a recycling plant to be built in the middle of a community with a middle school just down the street. This is environmental racism at its best. I want to believe this could not happen in Brookhaven or Chamblee community. Allowing this plant to be built would definitely lower the property values of the residential homes at a time where one, DeKalb County is to raise property taxes, and two, the country is battling a pandemic. The county did an extremely poor job in letting the community know of any ongoing meetings, claiming there was a meeting held and only one person showed up, which is not true. The community had no idea what was happening. When I saw that the area was cleared, I assumed it was another subdivision being built. I am asking that this recycling plant and or any other plant, asphalt, not be allowed to be built in this area. The mayor should consider property near the Stonecrest Mall where there's plenty of space there to build a plant. I ask that you reconsider and stop this catastrophe from happening. Please consider the health issues that will arise. Take into consideration the children and the elderly that live adjacent to this area and also the private homes directly across the street. If the city council agrees to allow this company to build this atrocity, I will have no choice but to put up a for sale sign and move out of DeKalb County for good. Maryland, Miller Park resident. Angela Russell, City Council, I disapprove of the plant being constructed on Miller Road here in Stonecrest. The plant is located in a residential area, meaning subdivisions, apartments, doctor's offices, and a school. The only commercial building on that end of Miller Road is Marshall's Warehouse, and it's been there for many years. It shouldn't be difficult to see that this plant is in no way good for the environment in this area. We've gone from Family Dollars and storage units to asphalt plants right in our neighborhoods. Why does the citizens always have to fight against bad businesses being built in Stonecrest? Angela J. Russell. Robin Ford. My name is Robin Ford. I am a citizen of Stonecrest, Georgia. I would like to get a petition so that other homeowners can sign their names. Stop this recycling landfill to be built in our great neighborhood. Robin Ford. Andrea Shates. To whom it may concern, I am a community resident and I want it clearly understood that I am fully against the Metro Green industrial facility being placed in the midst of a residential community. The property needs to be rezoned for residential use and or condos, office park, or single family homes. This industrial plant will impede upon residents' quality of life and significantly negatively impact property values. Most importantly, the facility will not attract or draw the type of development that is beneficial to a residential community. Thank you, Andrea Shade, Lithonia, Georgia. Lot Returner, I am a county resident of over 25 years. I've lived at 4876 Haymarket Trail, and the recycle plant construction is a complete invasion on my quality of life, as the smell from the plant will most definitely invade all the homes in the area. It's very unfortunate that these types of projects always seem to be approved in middle-class neighborhoods. I believe that our elected officials are there to represent all citizens, not just some according to zip codes. I would be very disappointed if this project is allowed to proceed. I beg of you, please don't let this happen. How would you feel if you lived in one of the nearby neighborhoods? Sincerely, Lautry Turner. Sheila Wells, I ask that this be read at the next council meeting. I and my household are against allowing this facility to be constructed and to operate in our community. It is a health hazard and a threat to our entire community. Respectfully, Sheila Wells, Myra Properties. Sheila Well also stated, we do not need or want the Metro Green recycling facility in our community. This is a health hazard to this residential community. Dave Marcus, Mayor Larry and council people. In my amateur opinion, the city is not doing enough to let Stonecrest voters know when bad things may be coming their way. There are 3 changes I ask you to consider to help the situation. 1, there are no notifications made to residents when administrative permits are applied for or granted. In the case of the Metro Green Recycling Plant, the land disturbance permit was issued by the city without any notice. Another instance of this was for the cell tower erected last year next to a school and playground. In these, the city planning department was following the ordinances. I call on Mayor Larry to change the policy now so that when a permit is applied for, notifications are emailed or mailed to all residents, landlords, and landowners whose quality of life may reasonably be expected to be impacted if the permit is issued. The devil will be on the details, but that isn't a reason to not do it. And I call on the council to change our ordinances to require this. 2, city ordinances require notices of rezoning hearings and zoning variance hearings to be mailed only to landowners within a few hundred feet of the property. No notices are required to renters. I call on Mayor Larry to change the policy and the council to change ordinances so that these notices too go to both landowners and renters and go to a much greater radius if they may be impacted. 3, any property that is currently zoned as industrial and is adjacent to residential zoning or churches, schools, or parks is a landmine waiting to blow up in people's faces. I believe that Chris Wheeler said last week that staff was creating an inventory of those situations. I call on the city to make sure that the inventory is exhaustive, to make sure it looks at schools, parks, and churches, as well as residentially zoned land, and that it looks at situations that cross the border between DeKalb and Stonecrest. I call on the city to create a plan to reduce each of those possible calamities with all means possible, including rezoning to provide buffers, perhaps office or other commercial use as needed. And if you can't solve some of these in any other way, I agree with Mr. Knight, who has said on Facebook that as part of examining the problem zones, the city and the county should consider creating joint special tax districts, which could buy land to create buffer zones. The precedent is already there where the county buys out affected homeowners in floodplains and demolishes their houses. Thank you for considering these changes, Dave Marcus. Rosie May for Linda Lee. My name is Linda Lee and I reside in the Millerwood subdivision. I have been living in my home since 2007. I am very upset as a lot of my neighbors are with the decision to allow a recycling facility in our residential community. The work that is being done is in my backyard. The noise and smells are horrific and I can only imagine how bad it will be once they begin to recycle. I know about the stop work order, but that's only because Stonecrest did not meet the standards of DeKalb County. The real reason should be because the residents in the area will be exposed to toxins and it will not be safe. The quality of life that we once knew will be gone. The sale of our property will diminish. So I ask you, Mr. Mayor, what gives you the right to approve this work without any consideration for our well-being? Close your eyes and imagine a recycling facility in your neighborhood, in your backyard. The work stop should be permanent and we should be included in any major decisions regarding matters that may directly or indirectly affect us. We are in the process of getting a petition signed and will proceed with securing a team of lawyers if our request falls on deaf ears. This matter is of a very serious nature and the people responsible should be held accountable. Please don't take this as a threat because it's not. I am just trying to be transparent and making you aware of our next move. I look forward to hearing from you and your team. Thank you, Linda Lee. Michelle Leonard. Sorry, one moment. Rod Cole. I am a decades-long resident of the Millerwood subdivision under Robert Turner, and I have to commend the council's quick action to stop construction of the Metro Green recycling plant. This project and a cell tower have apparently been approved and executed until your recent actions to verify processes. It is not enough to say that this entire community of more than 70 families living less than a stone's throw away in a complete apartment complex with surrounding homes and complete communities falling outside the city zone of Stonecrest, but impacted nonetheless because they are literally across the street from the site, which oddly enough had one address for the property, 2450 Miller Woods Drive, and another address for the business, 5152 Snapfinger Woods Drive, so that it would appear to be away from any and all concerns of the Stonecrest Decatur community. I can't say enough that we, the combined community, were unaware of this minimally advertised and absolutely not submitted to the community for true and fair input, because I am fairly confident we wouldn't be having this conversation if we were appropriately made aware. I do not approve of the cell phone tower and would like it removed from Miller Road. I do not approve of the rezoning of parcel 16-025-01-077, 2450 Miller Road from light industrial M to heavy industrial M2 to support a proven harmful and suspiciously approved Metro Green recycling business. And I request the council members support this with the same enthusiasm you ask our support when it is time to raise taxes, but we get results like this from our elected officials. Thank you for your response. R. Cole. Revamped resale. I am a concerned citizen of Stonecrest. I am in opposition to the workforce housing coming to Stonecrest. I feel that it is a bait and switch to get low-income housing to Stonecrest. Why bring Stonecrest down and brand it as a low-income city? It's already hard enough getting businesses to open shop here. Also, Stonecrest already has enough affordable living. People move here when they can't afford to live anywhere else. Daryl Sloan, please do everything possible to stop this plant. We don't want this adding to the declining property values in this area of South DeKalb. Danny, we want the work to stop permanently and we want a full investigation into why we weren't considered in the decision-making process that is allowing a recycling facility in our residential community. This is endangering our health and safety. I live in the second house from the entry of the neighborhood, and I have an 89-year-old mom who is suffering from the smell. We are directly behind this awful sewage working. We need this to stop immediately. My mom is sick over this. This is also from Danny, stating all surrounding subdivisions are yelling and screaming the same thing. Tony Wilson. Good evening, Mayor Jason Larry, City Council for the City of Stonecrest, and Director Christopher Wheeler. Due to the COVID-19 protocol, I am submitting my public comments via email for the Stonecrest City Council meeting scheduled for Monday. It is my request that my email letter be read verbally. Allow me to begin by stating I'm a strong believer in the providence of God. A couple of weeks ago, I took my morning walk 2 hours later than normal. During my walk, which partly traverses Snapfinger Woods Drive, I was literally passed by 30 dumping trucks. 17 of them drove directly in front of Emory Hillendale Hospital, 5 tractor trailers, also known as 18-wheelers, and 1 drove directly in front of Emory Hillendale Hospital, 3 concrete mixers, 1 tractor trailer cab without the trailer. Question: if the site development phase for this construction and demolition recycling center already generates this kind of traffic, what impact will occur if this project moves to completion? My correspondence with the City of Stonecrest began on May 13, 2020, when I asked Councilman Rob Turner and Mr. Chris Wheeler what was being built on Miller Road by Snapfinger Woods Drive. By the end of May 2020, I had informed all of the elected officials for this area, including Georgia federal senators, that a construction debris recycling center was being developed in my community. I requested a moratorium on the building project and asked for community engagement to discuss this project. Representative Doreen Carter, Georgia District 92, Director Wheeler, and Councilman Rob Turner responded to my emails. Councilwoman Cobble and my wife had had several email exchanges on this same topic. On July 2nd, 2020, Representative Carter convened a virtual town hall meeting. Participants, including State Senator Emanuel Jones, Georgia District 10, all council persons from the City of Stonecrest, an Environmental Protection Department professional, and a spokesperson for the recycling development. A few other state politicians were also on the call, and at least 2 elected officials had proxies to represent their office. Noticeably absent or nonverbal were Mayor Larry and Director Wheeler. Furthermore, to this date, Mayor Larry has not communicated with me by any method. As a result of Representative Carter's meeting, it is abundantly clear that not all of the Stonecrest City Council persons were aware or nor in support of the recycling development. It also appeared that neither Representative Carter nor Senator Jones were made aware of this business being located less than 500 feet from 3 neighborhoods, 2 medical office, and 1 school. As a result of the virtual town hall meeting, some actions have been noted. Director Wheeler issued and then modified a stop work order. Documentation clearly represented some steps were taken out of order or not at all regarding the permit phase of this project.
I'm sorry, Ms. Isom, that's 3 minutes.
Okay.
And we're at 27 minutes total, so we got 3 more minutes.
And this is from Sophia Jolly, to whom it may concern. This email is to inform you that we want the work to stop permanently and we want a full investigation into why we weren't considered in the decision-making process that is allowing a recycling facility in our residential community. This is endangering our safety and health. Thank you. Sincerely yours, concerned citizen of Miller Woods subdivision. And Mr. Wheeler, would you like your public comment read at this time?
The one I sent you?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead and read that one. Yes, please.
Okay, and this one is from Malika Wells. As it pertains to zoning in general and considerations coming up before you in particular, in all your decision-making, please be led by the will of the residents you serve and the insights available to you in the future land use map. Thank you, Malika Wells. And the last one is from Michelle Leonard. I am writing to voice my concern for the old business section of the ordinance for rezoning application 6086 and 6100 Hillendale Drive. Please do not approve this application. The developer has not laid out the plans in writing for who will live here, how they will screen applicants. Let's keep it zoned for commercial purposes, which will be better suited in the long run. Thanks, Michelle, District 4 resident. That concludes the public comments.
Mr. Mayor, you're muted.
Thank you, sir. All right, so we'll move from, we don't have work session items or public hearings, the old business. On the old business, I'm going to move that the
I
ordinance.
thought we did have a public hearing.
No. What's going to happen is that we're moving the old business from the agenda, as we talked about earlier. So
Yeah, I thought Chris said we were moving it to a public hearing. We had to let the residents have their comments.
That was stated earlier until the mayor said he did not want to make an action, and that was discussed, and then I guess that was like then the comment to asking about could you defer or you table the motion, and that was and after that you guys were talking about tabling it and not actually moving forward with it.
Right. I'm sorry. I thought that was after the public hearing.
I'm not too sure again how you guys were worded on that, but I know you guys wanted to. Well, not you guys, but the mayor said he wanted to table the decision, and that's how I think everybody came to an agreement on that. Did I speak out of turn, sir, or Winston?
You're well, from my standpoint, you're 100% correct.
Okay. Yeah, I just need some clarity. A little bit more on that. So we're not doing a public hearing.
Correct.
We tabled it with a vote to a certain date, which is really a deferral. And now that it's under old business, we're leaving it in our old business, not reading the public comment, not hearing anything else again. We're just going to take action under old business.
And table it to the next meeting.
Well, you're going to put a vote on the floor for that.
Correct.
Okay. And attorneys, that's good. That's not a part of the public hearing process. I just want to make sure we're not violating anything.
No. I mean, we are deferring to either tabling it indefinitely until the council decides to take it off the table, or you're going to defer it to a meeting specifically. But did we not hear public comments the last time it was before the council?
Yes, and some today.
Okay. Well, I mean, so just to be clear, and forgive my faulty recollection, but I can't remember whether we convened a public hearing the last time, heard public comments, closed the public hearing, and then moved to table or defer. Is that what happened, Chris?
For this application, no. We just asked for the item to be tabled.
Okay.
And the other question for
so did we have a public hearing or no?
I'm sorry. The question I have for Attorney Denmark is simple. Can we even have a public hearing since on the agenda it wasn't really listed as a public hearing? I mean, would that be incorrect as well?
Right. Yeah. It certainly was not listed as a public hearing, and I when we did it the last time, it was I thought we had heard public comments, but it sounds like we didn't hear public comments the last time when it was listed as a public hearing. And now this time it is not listed as a public hearing. And so it would likely be inappropriate to treat it as one.
Correct.
So just to let you know, so we originally already had a public hearing. The only reason why we tabled it again is to re-advertise to allow public to have another public hearing. We've already had one. We had one last month. And we're just going back again to re-advertise to allow for public hearing again. So we've already met our legal requirement of having a public hearing. This was just again.
That's what I was asking, Chris. That's what I was asking. Whether
we've already
had a public hearing, and we officially opened the public hearing. The public got to make comments. We closed the public hearing, and then elected not to make a decision, but rather to defer it. Sounds like that's what happened. And if that is in fact what happened, that coupled with the fact that it's not listed as a public hearing on this agenda would make a public hearing tonight inappropriate. Now we could re-advertise it for a public hearing at another date and then have a public hearing. But if not only should we, I just don't think we can do a public hearing tonight.
And that's why I mentioned earlier when we were getting the agenda approved to remove it from the agenda when we get to it, or remove it from the agenda before we approve the agenda. So as stated, we said that we would remove it from the agenda when we got to it. Now we're to it. And as Attorney Denmark said, we can't have it as a public hearing, and we didn't advertise it and it can't be on there. So my motion is to remove it from the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, you want to defer it or you want to table it? Because if you're going to defer it, it'll be to a date certain. If you want to table it, then you just table it. It's not like it has been tabled, so you just continue it in its tabled status.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Then a motion for it to be tabled so that we don't have to put a date certain on it. Is that proper?
Yes, sir. If that's what you would like to do, yes.
Okay.
Second.
Then I heard a second.
Yes, second.
No second. All right. District 1.
Wait a
We
minute.
have discussion, please.
Discussion.
I'm sorry.
We can have a discussion.
My
Thank you.
only concern is, are we going to attach a date to it in this meeting, or are we pretty much leaving that part open?
Well, I was going to leave it date uncertain until I had a chance to reconvene and talk about it.
You gonna talk to us about it, or you gonna talk to the applicant? Who you gonna talk to about it, Mayor?
I'm going to have my chief liaison officer intervene on my behalf and find out exactly who we'll talk to. But if it is pleasure of council to put a date on it, I'm fine with that also.
I noticed that the representative for this particular developer is on the line. Is it appropriate to hear from that representative now?
We can if we like. We're in that discussion phase. Ms. Battle, would you like to have a conversation?
Good evening, everyone. Michelle Battle with Battle Law, 1 West Court Square, Decatur, Georgia, 30030. It is my understanding there's still some issues that need to be addressed. We are comfortable with tabling to give us an opportunity to meet with each of the council members to understand what the outstanding issues are, as well as the mayor, and hopefully to be able to address any remaining questions or concerns and move towards a final hearing or a final decision, should I say.
Okay. So Attorney Battle, you're okay with a table without a date?
Yes, I would actually prefer the table without a date, and then that way we have sufficient time if we need to get a traffic study or anything of that nature. If that's what some of the issues are, that we would like to have that opportunity. We feel that this is an important opportunity to provide housing for working people, and that we want to at least make sure that we understand what the issue is and if it's possible to address it.
Okay. Council is still open for discussion.
I have a couple of questions. So we're not in a hearing, right? So the applicant's lawyer speaking not in a hearing, I thought was a little peculiar, a little odd. And then asking what the applicant would prefer us to do, I thought it was even more odd. Because I mean, typically we're talking about an agenda item. If we were in person, we wouldn't bring up someone to speak that's not in a hearing. So I'm a little uneasy about how we're doing what we're doing. But I'd like to also mention that, I mean, you might not agree with me. I'm just letting you know how I feel about it. It makes me uneasy. I'd also like to, I thought that this was told to me more than one time, that when it comes to a zoning matter, that you had to put a date on it. Like you could not make it, you could not make a decision, I guess, without a date. Like, so the fact that we're kind of playing, what I feel like we're playing with words, and that we're going to table it so that we skate the date. But if we defer it, you have to put a date on it. I mean, I think we've been told by many, many times that, and when it comes to a zoning matter, that you had to put a date on it. You could not do this idea of just not putting a date on it. So now today, if we use the word table, we don't have to put a date on it. So it's just, this is just strange to me what we're doing. So if maybe Chris and the attorney, y'all can weigh in, because I know that you've told me on more than one occasion that you've got to put a date to it, which is why we tabled it last time with a date. So now we're entertaining not putting a date on a zoning matter that we've always put a date on. I'm just confused. And then we asked the applicant's attorney, well, what would you prefer? You know, it's just odd to me. That's just strange what we're
Councilman,
doing.
You're right. You would generally want to have a date for a zoning matter, but the reason why that's imperative is because the applicant would likely have certain due process rights to get a resolution of the application that they've made to the city. And so it's not a reason that is just the abstract, it's a reason that protects the applicant, because generally these applicants have made an application for a rezoning or a land disturbance permit, or to do something that they would like to do. And if the city says, well, we can just put it off indefinitely, then the applicant doesn't have an opportunity to get voted up or down so they can move on. And so it's for the protection of the applicant. But in this case, the applicant has stated that they would prefer having no date. And so that issue, that imperative to have a date, has now gone away, because the applicant who possesses the due process right that creates the imperative has said, we would prefer not to have a date. Now, why the applicant's attorney was allowed to speak, that's certainly outside of my province, but it was certainly helpful, because now we understand that the applicant whose due process rights are at issue is not asserting those due process rights or complaining about it, and would actually prefer to have no date.
Surely, I mean, I think we just need to be careful about the precedent that we set and the can of worms we open when we flip-flop processes and procedure. You know, so if we're going to do that based on situation, I mean, it to me exposes, you know, a lot of liability there with picking and choosing when to continue your standard processes. I mean, I understand that the applicant can decide that they no longer want those protections that our process provides. That doesn't mean that it's wise for us to deviate from our process. But needless to say, I'd prefer to put a date on it. I think it just keeps the risk level down, mitigates issues going forward. So I'd like to see us put a date to it.
Still in discussion mode.
I'm also in agreement with the date, because I just feel that we need to have some type of ending thing for this thing and not keep it floating and moving and going and going and going. I don't think that's fair to the community or to the builder. So we do need to put a date on it so we can have some kind of finality to it.
Okay. Any other comments?
I mean, let me just say that when this comes before us, we have the options of either approving this, denying it, deferring it, and now to table it. So I think all of those options are before us. And we, because the public hearing has taken place. Whether it was totally fair or not is another question, but it has taken place and has run its course. So now what we did was just delay the decision on the matter. And those 3, 4 options are still before us.
So then what I would suggest, since we've heard from, well, okay. I'm looking at my calendar. How about taking the suggestions that I've heard? I want to amend my motion to table this issue to August 24th, 2020. And I'll ask for a second on my amended motion.
Second.
Okay. All right. So now the amended motion is on the table with a date, and we're now in discussion. Okay.
Mayor, I'm just concerned as to the why of it all.
Okay, I can answer that for you. If you allow me. The why of it all is this: when companies, when individuals, when entities spend their hard-earned money in a pandemic environment to make sure that they build what is right for us and for themselves and for the people, we should take as much diligence as we can. These are millions of dollars at stake. And what I've heard consistently from the community is that I don't want any more little small shopping center gas stations. I want something that people can have a head count on. I want some things that brings value to Stonecrest. Well, actually, in my personal opinion, I think they bring extreme value to Stonecrest, because when that plot of land is going to be one of two things, and it will not stay empty. It's either going to be housing that people that can afford in this area, between $8, $9, $1,000 a month, which is no small change, or it's going to be a strip mall. And I don't want another strip mall. I want some people to be able to come out of their units, go to work, and make sure things happen the way they are. So, and what I don't want is nothing to happen. So the point of it is, in my humble opinion, is that we should do as much due diligence and much flexibility within our legal bounds to make sure the people that are interested in spending their hard-earned money in Stonecrest get a fair shot to do so. And I don't think it's out of the preview to give them to August 24th, which is day in the next month, to get all their facts together, or to meet with the community again, or have a traffic study, or whatever it is that they desire to give their best interest to make it happen. That's just one man's opinion.
May I say this then? If that is the case, that was another option, and that is a full cycle deferral, which means it goes back to the whole process of the neighborhood meetings and the public hearings, so the public will have that full input. But if this is
already done that, Councilman. They've already done that, and not 6 months.
Listen to what I'm saying. That's an option to go full cycle. But if you're saying they're going to bring in some additional evidence or information, then I think the public has a right to see it as well, or hear it as well.
Yeah, well, I think that's enough time to make that happen.
Well, here's my concern, Mayor. I'm just concerned that if this is not standard operating procedures for every applicant, why are we doing it for this applicant?
There's no such thing as standard operating procedure for every applicant. You know,
we
have the power as mayor and council to do exactly what we're doing now. Attorney Denmark, am I doing anything illegal?
No, sir. I mean, we have deferred zoning matters many times in the past. So, I mean, this is sometimes you decide it right there that night. Sometimes you defer it. It just depends on the circumstance.
Yeah.
And Mayor, please understand that I did not allege that you did anything illegal.
I didn't take it that way. I just
when you asked Attorney Denmark, did you do anything illegal? And I was the last one to speak. It just made me think that you may have interpreted that I said you did something illegal. So no, what I'm saying is this: if you made that decision that this is what you want to do, and that might not be the will of the council, you've not asked us what did we want to do. I don't believe. And I'm trying to get clarity, because you always know that I want clarity.
Well, Councilwoman, I'm going to disagree with you respectfully, because in discussion, Councilwoman Cobble said that she would prefer a date attached to it. All right. So I attached a date to it. And
I'm just back at the beginning. I'm sorry. I'm back at the beginning when you first brought it up. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Not any of the discussion. Yeah, when you first brought it up about taking it off, I was in wonderment at that point as to why was this going to leave, and there was no conversation with us. That's all. That's where I was. Forget everything else that has been discussed. I started back at the beginning.
Well, no worries. We've been discussing it. We've been in discussion twice now.
Mr. Mayor,
before, and now we're discussing it now. And I'm calling on everybody to have their say. Ms. Cobble had hers. You're having yours. I think Mr. Clinton has just raised his hand.
I did.
Okay.
I have a question for you or our city attorney. Going to Councilman George Turner's point about additional public input, if we setting this date, will we also provide for additional public input at the point in time where we do actually, when this come back before council, so that public can again redress or at least address the issue as presented to them with whatever changes that this vendor or project may bring forth?
Mr. Mayor, I was going to ask that very question because you have the option of bringing it back to council for another public hearing, or you can bring it back to council for a decision only. And it's not clear to me what we've elected to do at this point. If you bring it back for a public hearing, then it would be re-advertised as a public hearing, and the public would have an opportunity. We would open a public hearing, people would speak for and against, close the public hearing, hear from the applicant again, and then the mayor and council would deliberate and make a decision. But if it was for decision only, you could hear from the applicant, mayor and council deliberate, make a decision. So it's your choice, the council's choice, as to whether there's going to be for a public hearing or for decision only by mayor and council.
Okay, I'll give my input, then I'll pass it to Mr. Wheeler. Then with that, let's solve all the queries at once for all 6 people, which is mayor and council. One, let's push forward with regards to a public hearing so that the people can have their say over again, and then make it to a point where we can still make the end of August. Mr. Wheeler.
We can also still have a community meeting again with the applicant at the beginning of the month as well. Again, to have the public get their input again, and then staff can update staff report and reflect that in the new report as well. But we can have another community meeting so residents can voice their opinion on it, and then it'll be on the record.
All right, then council, I think that'll solve everything that everyone asked for: a date specific, for a public hearing, and also to have community input. Anyway, any other desires?
Is that considered a full cycle deferral, Mr. Wheeler?
No, sir. Full cycle will go back to the planning commission.
Okay, so we will not involve the planning commission. We just have a public hearing.
Yes, sir.
And then it comes back to council for decision. Okay.
All right.
Just wanted clarity.
I'm sorry, Councilman.
I just wanted clarity.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Okay, all hearts and minds clear?
Well, I'll just state for the record that I'd asked a question, I guess 2-3 meetings ago about this particular piece, and I'd asked for some places I could visit to actually see what was, what the applicant was going to bring to Stonecrest if approved. And I visited 3 of the 4 sites, already knowing where one was, I guess, over by the Wayfield. And I just had some concerns about those, but I guess I can wait and talk about that when we.
You can.
Okay. All right.
All right. Still under discussion. Still active motion on the floor. Are we good with discussion? All right. At the amended motion is for August 24th, and all the things in between that we've discussed. District 1.
Aye.
District 2.
Aye.
District 3.
Aye.
District 4.
Aye.
District 5.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Thank you.
Mayor, I just want to let you know, once I spoke to the applicant and we have determined the community meeting, it will be posted on the city's website to let people know.
Good deal. And with regards to the same type of development, I too have visited several other places with regards to what it looks like and where it's going, and I have absolutely no concerns. I think they build quality stuff. I think in that area with regards to where it's going, we need exactly what the people are asking for. We talk about density. We talk about being able to have rooftops and folks that meet a certain income level to, draw business here. This is the type of development we need. We cannot not do anything. We can't. You don't want gas stations. You don't want this. You don't want that. We gotta grow up and figure out who we're gonna be with the people that are trying to do business with us. This is one man's opinion. All right. So on the new business final plat for Bentley Estates.
Yes, sir. So what you guys submitted, you guys done this before, is a final plat submitted to you for final approval. It has been reviewed by staff and GIS for all subdivisions, for all subdivision or residential developments that occur in the city. All subdivisions have to go in front of the city council for final approval. Again, DeKalb County GIS and staff has reviewed this and they meet all the requirements for final approval.
Any action on our part, Mr. Wheeler?
Just say yay.
Okay, and then that takes us to for the plat approval for Bentley Estates.
Yes, sir. That's for Bentley Estates. Yes, sir.
All right, council. Any questions for Mr. Wheeler?
Just quickly on, I guess it would cover both of them. When you submit a final plat, there's an implication that there was a preliminary plat. I think that's to be the sketch plat.
We don't do sketch plats here in the city of Stonecrest. So technically the sketch plat is your LDP. That's part of that is your preliminary plat. Again, so when you do your LDP, staff reviews that, it makes it meet all your comments. So when you do your final plat is supposed to match your LDP permit. Because the reason why we don't do sketch plats is because it actually an extra layer of step for developer and for staff. Because since they're depending on whatever happens out there when the parcel is being developed, they can easily submit their resubmittal resubmittal to the staff, and easier just to make the correction in their LDP application and then an actual separate plat application.
Well, just to be clear, when you say final plat, you're comparing it to something. So if council wanted to see it, where would I find the original application and compare the final plat to it?
You can find it in the LDP application.
That's online.
So for Bentley Estates, it is not online at this point in time. It's actually in the city. In actual city, it's a hard copy. We are actually working on trying to get our LDP application submitted via online. But for the Bentley Estate and for Rockland, not Rockland, but Rockland, Lakeview, Stonecrest. Those are all are hard copies.
So if I were brave enough to come to City Hall right now, I could go through that.
Yes, sir. I think as I mentioned before, that we have to scan those in. And our plotter is kind of funny acting, so it'll take a time to get all of those pages in. Because when you talk about a land disturbance permit, you're not just talking about site plan. You're talking about grading. You're talking about engineering. You're talking about stormwater as well. So it's a very huge document to try to scan into the city. That's going to take some time.
Okay. Well, main thing is that we know that there was a introduction and this is the final, and we
yes, sir. So
compare the beginning to the end. That's what I needed to know.
Yeah, so you won't be able to do a final plat without submitting your LDP. Okay. Like you cannot do that. You can't just say, oh, I'm gonna do a final plat, because again, the final plat is showing that the parcels have been developed correctly according to DeKalb County's, not DeKalb County, but Stonecrest standards and the GIS standards as well, as well as they meet all their site requirements according to the state and to DeKalb County Water and Sewer, and also DeKalb County Fire too.
Right.
Okay, council, anybody else? All right. Having seen this, then I will make a motion to approve the final plat for Bentley Estates. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Seeing no further. District 1.
Aye.
District 2.
Aye.
District 3.
Aye.
District 4.
Aye.
District 5.
Aye.
Mayor? Aye. All right. Item number B, final plat for Lakeview at Stonecrest subdivision, phase 1. Same drill, Mr. Wheeler.
Same thing as the previous applicant. The applicant has submitted a land disturbance permit. With that, we have reviewed the preliminary plat. Staff has given the green light, and they met all the requirements, and so has the DeKalb County GIS as well.
Council. All right, seeing no discussion, I move that we approve the final plat for Lakeview at Stonecrest subdivision, phase 1. In the discussion, further discussion. I thought I heard somebody say something. I'm sorry.
Second.
Second. All right. All right. In the discussion mode, again, any from council? All right. Seeing none, District 1,
Aye.
District 2,
Aye.
District 3,
Aye.
District 4,
Aye.
District 5,
Aye.
Mayor, aye. C, setting the 2020 mills rate for the Stonecrest resolution. Mr. Joyner.
Yes, Mayor, Council, I just want to present to you the resolution for setting the millage rate for the city of Stonecrest. Quickly here. A resolution by the mayor and council of the city of Stonecrest, Georgia, to fix the millage rate for ad valorem property taxes of the city of Stonecrest for the fiscal year 2020 and for other lawful purposes. The ad valorem tax at the rate for the city of Stonecrest, Georgia for the 2020 fiscal year on properties subject to ad valorem taxation by the city is hereby fixed at 1.438 mil on each $1,000 of taxable value or any part thereof of the value of all real and personal property, which under the laws of this state are subject to taxation within the corporate limits of the city for this purpose. Said millage rate is hereby levied for Parks and Recreation Service delivery. In accordance with the approved contract with the Tax Commissioner of DeKalb County, the billing date and due date for ad valorem taxes for the city shall be the same as those for DeKalb County. That completes the reading of the resolution.
All right, folks, you've heard the reading of the resolution. Do we have any questions up front? Seeing none, then I'm going to make a motion to approve the resolution as read to form by Mr. Joyner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Properly moved in second. Discussion again from council. Any comments, any discussion? All right, seeing none. District 1.
Aye.
District 2.
Aye.
District 3.
Aye.
District 4.
He's
District
muted.
4.
He's muted.
Aye.
There he is. District 5.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Approved. Thank you, staff. Thank you, council. I am going to make a motion to go into executive session for litigation purposes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. District 1.
Aye.
District 2.
Aye.
District 3.
Aye.
District 4.
Aye.
District 5.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. All right. We'll take a 2-minute recess and then we'll go into executive session. Mr. Bell.
We will stop recording, Mayor, and then I will, there are going to be some people that I guess we'll need to ask to leave the call.
That's correct. All staff can